Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, don't want to give me a new contract? Fine, I'll stick to the terms of the contract I do have. I don't think your kid will like my candy, lady, but whatever. My useless coworker said it was his last day. It was. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Don't want to give me a new contract? Fine, I'll stick to the terms of the contract I do have. So I used to work for a large retailer in the UK. I worked there for 12 years in total and ended up as a manager. When you want to become a manager, they make you fly through 1,000 hoops, do a whole bunch of training and do the job for 6 months without any extra pay. I did all of this and was finally officially signed off as a manager. After I was officially given a job, I got my pay rise but was never given a new contract. I asked multiple times for a new contract and was fobbed off each time. Fast forward about 9 months and another large retailer started hiring lots of managers and was poaching a whole bunch of staff. I applied for one of these jobs as they were offering £8,000 more than I was currently on, but for the same job. I got the job and went to hand in my notice. Managers have to give 4 weeks notice, whereas general assistants only have to give a week. So I decided that I would follow the exact terms on my contract and provide them with a week's notice rather than the 4 weeks they wanted. Suffice to say that they were not happy with that, and I got called into an office to ask why I had only given 1 week's notice. I explained that per the terms of the last contract that I signed with them, that is all that I was required to give. They were really not happy, but there really wasn't anything that they could do about it. Also, my wife says hi. She wanted me to say hi to whoever I was texting. I said I was writing a Reddit post and said to say hi to Reddit for her. Haha, my brother did this exact thing. They trained him up, gave him the extra pound, but never redid his contract, so he never got the other benefits, mostly mileage and medical. His notice period didn't change from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. So when he handed in his notice a year and a half later, unrelated reasons, they said it was 8 weeks. He asked them to show him that in his contract, and they went all quiet. It's nice when work contracts work in your favor, and you can stick it to the boss man. And G-Day from Sunday evening to OP's missus. They are there to protect both parties. Long notice may be seen as a bad thing, but if they want to make you redundant, then it plays to your favor. Good story, great MC. And say hi to your wife for me. Hello, Mrs. Whoosh. I like the story, it was well crafted with good grammar and punctuation. I don't think your kid will like my candy, lady, but whatever. Since there's only a week left of summer, I decided to take the kids to the local amusement/water park today. As I've gotten older, the rides have gotten a little tougher on me. In addition, my daughter tends to get motion sick rather easily. I don't like the way motion sickness pills make me feel. So, I always take a Ziploc baggie full of ginger candy along to prevent and soothe the nausea. Today, I had chewy mango ginger candies, hard plain ginger candies, and hard lemon ginger candies. For those who've never had ginger candy, it is spicy. The lemon ginger is probably the mildest. The plain ginger is just plain hot. The mango ginger are sweet and spicy, but they also stick to your teeth like crazy. They're definitely an acquired taste. As we are standing in line for the log ride, I pull out my baggie. I choose a lemon one, as does my son, 13. My daughter, 12, asks for a mango one. While I'm fishing a mango one out, I hear the kid in front of us tell his mom that he, around 7-ish, wants some candy. His mom distractedly says she doesn't have any candy. The boy says, but she does. He turns to me and asks for one. I tell him I don't really think he'd like my candy. By this time, his mom has focused in on the interaction. As the kid starts to whine that, of course, he'd like my candy, his mom just huffs and says, "You've got a whole baggie." Can't you give him just one? Come in, don't be greedy. Oh, you said the magic word there, lady. I say, alright, and dig out a lemon one. I'm not completely heartless. That's when the kid whines that he wants mango. Mango is his favorite. I tell him lemon is better, but he insists on mango. I tell him it's kinda sticky as I hang it over. The kid rips it open, shoves it in his mouth, gets in 3 quick chews while my kids stare at him. Then, he actually starts to taste it and a look of horror comes over his face. He screams and tries to spit it out. He's jumping around and flapping his arms. His mom is panicking and asking what's wrong. He's screaming that it's bad and it's hot and he wants it out. His mom tells him to spit it out. That's when I pipe up with the very helpful, it's really sticky. What's left is probably stuck in his teeth. He'll have to wait for it to melt off if he doesn't want to chew. The mom looks at me in disbelief and a shrug. Then she asks what in the hell I gave her son. Probably should have asked that sooner, lady. I answer, ginger candy. It's good for nausea. I'm pretty sure I'd be dead if looks really could kill. We got to move up in line 2 spaces though because she whisked her kid off to a water fountain. I'd like to think the kid will think twice about demanding things from strangers. Plus it was entertaining. Overall, the kids and I counted it as a win. It's amazing that some parents can be so entitled that they expect complete strangers to placate their kids. On the plus side, I bet that kid won't be accepting candy from strangers again. That's what you get for demanding that other people not be greedy with their own stuff. I hope the kid learned a valuable lesson about entitlement mentality. Definitely not. The kid learned that they hate OP. Hopefully the mom taught them the valuable lesson, but she probably also just explained that OP is a meanie. Kids like that learn entitlement from their parents. You did warn her he wouldn't like the candy. You warned them that the candy is sticky. Her giant ego didn't register the warning. Let's see if 2 people drop their entitlement mentality toward other people's candy. I'm not holding my breath. My useless coworker said it was his last day. It was. I work at a nursing home as a QMAP, Qualified Medication Assistant Personnel. We're super short-staffed. For my first 2 weeks of employment, I had to work 7 days a week, because there was no other night shift QMAP. Finally, we hired a new person, who we'll call Devin. Devin was useless. I mean genuinely, truly, wholly useless. The only duty he did was administer medications. We only have to pass 1 med on night shift. The rest of the night, he'd either sit on his phone or sleep. He never cleaned, did paperwork, checked on residents, did follow-ups on PRN medications, charted anything, and he even argued with caregivers about who would wipe the ass of bed-bound residents. To make it worse, he took most of my shifts. He worked 5 nights a week as a QMAP, while I worked the other 2 nights, plus 3 as a caregiver. On the 2 nights where I was QMAP, I had to desperately catch up on everything he let pile up through the week. What normally took maybe 3 hours of work per night suddenly took almost my entire shift. I tried to talk to him multiple times about his lack of work, but it was like talking to a wall. I'd spend 15 minutes begging him to, at the very least, clean the kitchen so we don't get ants or mice, and he'd just nod and say yeah, I get it, in the most monotone voice. Admittedly, I wound up blowing up at him twice, but I feel like it was deserved, because he wasn't caring for the residents and he was deadass lying to my face about his work. Everyone, including my boss, knew he was completely useless, but we didn't have enough staff members to fire him. One Saturday where it was only me as caregiver and Devin as QMAP, I'd been called in earlier to work a double shift because we're short-staffed. 30 minutes before shift change, I got a call from my boss saying that Devin quit on the spot. To my understanding, the interaction went as follows. Devin, I'm changing my schedule to only working 3 days. Boss, you can't just change your schedule without talking to us. Devin, then this was my last shift. I quit. So all of a a sudden, I was left as the only staff member on shift. I had to do the equivalent of 3 people's jobs. Normally there are 2 caregivers, but like I said, we're short-staffed. Not to mention, I'd already worked 8 hours on evening shift. It was a long, exhausting night, and I'm pretty sure I only got everything done thanks to a multi-hour long adrenaline rush and spite. And I didn't get a break after that, because I was once again faced with the fact that I was the only night QMAP, so I'd have to work every night until we found someone else. However, after a few nights of consistent work, I remembered how fucking easy work is when you don't have a mountain of shit to get done. Cut to 5 days ago, and I'm having a medical emergency. Without going into too much detail, I have a PEG tube and it has been persistently infected and it's gotten worse. I wound up in the hospital, and my boss had to cover me that night. I came back in the night after despite feeling like complete ass. Once I got on shift, my boss called me with some news. Devin texted her asking for his job back. Turns out he quit without backup income and was facing the consequences of his own actions. My boss asked me if I wanted to let him come back, since I was sick and still the only night QMAP. I weighed my choices and came to the conclusion that, despite feeling like shit and being forced to work every night, it was still less exhausting and strenuous than trying to pick up after Devin. It was a final, beautiful petty moment of revenge for the hours of stress and strain he put me through. I got to put the nail in his coffin. The idiot clearly didn't want to work, and in no uncertain terms, he had told our boss that Saturday had been his last day. Who was I to say otherwise? Edit, I've got some people asking if he knows if it was me. Yes, I texted him separately to inform him. It was professional but very passive-aggressive. Devin, I made the decision with, boss, to not hire you back. You told me several times that you did not want to work here, and your work ethic reflected this. On top of that, you quit. That's a pretty definitive final statement. Happy travels. Edit 2, thank you all for your concern regarding my health. Yes, I am currently very overworked. Everyone at the place I work is, and, frankly, every healthcare worker is too. I don't want to quit, and I don't intend to. I genuinely love the place I work, and I do truly feel valued as an employee. My boss works just as hard as me, and I have never felt exploited. I know that this isn't the case in most facilities, which is all the more reason why I want to stay. Unsure why you are the incumbent and you go from working 7 days to 2 in favor of Devin in the first place. A guy that walks out on nursing home patients should never be rehired. Nursing homes are one of the most abusive places to work. Turns out he quit without backup income and was facing the consequences of his own actions. That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him. It's going to be a little painful for you in the interim, but worth it in the long run. People like Devin just add way too much work to everyone else. Have you suggested to your boss that if they raise the salary, then you would likely be able to fill empty jobs with people of better quality than scummy Devin? Why does your boss not cover your shift more to at least give you 1 day off? I know you said you're short-staffed, but it's not your responsibility to keep the shifts filled, it's theirs. This is why I quit being a CNA, the staffing problems in management never stepping up to help when a shift needs to be filled. Unfortunately, my boss is currently working 2 management positions, so she's overworked as is. And she also just recently had a medical emergency, but hers was directly related to her overworking herself. So I don't want her to put herself at risk again. I had a coworker one time quit and didn't tell our manager until after the pay raise came through. The last 30 days he was here, he wasn't responding to emails as much, and his productivity declined. He came in one weekend and dropped off his work stuff to his desk. Didn't tell anybody he did it. He texted our boss that week and said he quit. Went to work for a competitor. Turns out he waited until after he got the year-end raise to gain leverage for higher pay at the new job. 8 months later, he texted my manager asking if there was a role opened. Our manager came and told us all. We all laughed and said, you told him no, right? He said, yeah, he's been blacklisted and not available for rehire. Don't completely burn your bridges, folks. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.